Tonight on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, we go over the week of the young wide receiver. We had a lot of them. They were great. And we won't throw personal flags on you the entire game like the Chiefs and Cowboys. It's time for Garbage Time. Guys, welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Tonight, it's me, Joe, and, the once-in-a-while host, Ron Seymour, showing up. How are you doing tonight, Ron?
Oh, I'm here. I made it.
Yeah, somehow once in a while he makes it.
Once in a while.
He's like this season's Christian McCaffrey. Once in a while he actually shows up and pretends he's a host. So
I was on injured reserve last week.
Yeah. We've heard that story before. That's all right. How you doing tonight?
Oh, good.
All right, Ron. So what'd you think of the games today? We have anything exciting you want to go in before we get into the news?
Well, I didn't really get to watch many of the games, but I do know, holy crap, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And also Justin Jefferson.
Potential league MVP, you think, for Jonathan Taylor? At least fantasy MVP this year?
Definitely probably fantasy MVP, because you got him in the second round and he's playing like the number one.
It's
ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. All right, and with that, obviously there's an 8:15 game, so let's get into the news and see if we got any questions coming up, too, from the Heckling Fandom. That is the wrong one. Let's get into the right one. Wrong button, off to a bad start.
This is what happens when we let you host.
Let's try it again.
News updates.
Let me just answer that question really quick. Yes, when I host, there is issues, but at least I show up to host. So let's just go with the issues, okay? So first in the news, we have Michael Carter went down with an injury. That's important to monitor if he's out for an extended period, because that could be a larger role for Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman. What are your thoughts on this going forward?
Well, I'm glad bye weeks are over, because he was my break glass in case of emergency running back in my dynasty team.
Yeah. Also, beyond that, too, another running back went down in a game that's currently still going on and probably ending soon. Ezekiel Elliott twisted his ankle. He's something to watch going forward, too. And should he miss time, I think Tony Pollard is going to get a lot of work in that offense. Do you know anything on that injury?
I heard he was already back in.
Yeah. So that's good, but still something to monitor after games, because things tend to swell up. Going forward, something to look at, too.
And they play on Thursday also, so.
That could be a quick turnaround for him. If that swells up in 2 days, he may not play Thursday. So just monitor that going forward, too. In some very disappointing news for another podcaster on our show, Justin Fields did not play today due to a rib injury. And that is something definitely you're going to want to monitor going forward, especially in Superflex leagues. What's your thoughts on Justin Fields' injury?
Did he not play, or did he get knocked out?
I don't believe he played,
because I thought he got some points.
No, he did. You're right. He played he got 70 yards and then got knocked out during the game. No, you're correct about that. But that's something definitely to monitor going forward, especially if you're in the Superflex format. Also, Kyler Murray missed his third game in a row, which was kind of expected from a lot of people. He's going into bye next week, and I think the Cardinals are looking to keep him healthy during the playoff push. Still very concerning, though. If you have Kyler Murray, and if you're in Megala Bowl in the coming weeks, make sure you have someone, like us, make sure you have a backup quarterback rostered coming back up, because this is very concerning.
Yeah, it's going to suck being without him for the first week of the playoffs, too.
Yeah.
Well,
and
update me, actually. Are we winning in the Megala Bowl this week?
Yeah, we've already secured the win for this week. We're in.
Awesome.
Yeah. Even with him out. So we had to start Jimmy G this week, which worked out all right. That was okay.
That's not bad. Yeah.
No, in some more positive news now, though, Jonathan Taylor set a franchise record for the Colts today with 5 total touchdowns. The guy was absolutely insane, man.
Wild.
4 rushing touchdowns.
It's also wild to me that
one.
5 touchdowns is the record. When they had Peyton Manning all those years, you're telling me Peyton Manning never threw for 5 touchdowns?
This is probably for the running back, dude.
It said just franchise record. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm assuming that's for the running back.
It's got to be for the running back.
There's definitely games where Peyton Manning threw for over 5 touchdowns. Speaking of quarterbacks, which are coming back on their last leg, but might have a little bit of upside in the coming part of the season, Cam Newton, in a loss, negative for the team, came out, looked effective for fantasy football this week, 2 touchdowns and a rushing. So what's your thoughts on Cam Newton going forward? Is he going to be potentially on the cusp of top 12 going forward?
He's always been fantasy relevant. Even last year with the Patriots, before he got the COVID there, he was, I want to say something like quarterback 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got the COVID, missed a couple games, and then was down for a couple games after that, because he wasn't right after the COVID. And then to end the year, he's right back up in the top 10. So
yeah. And guys, if you don't know too, in upstate New York, it's called the COVID, not COVID. So you have to throw the COVID in.
Did I say the COVID?
You said the COVID 3 times. So, you're throwing extra emphasis on it. When Cam Newton gets COVID, it's COVID.
The COVID. Right.
Just keep that in mind. So, yeah, I think Cam's upside going forward, too, is going to look really good, especially for fantasy. And he's got a nice schedule coming up, too. I really believe in him going forward. Speaking of other rushing quarterbacks, too, Lamar Jackson was out with sickness this week. It feels like he's out a few games every year with some kind of sickness. I don't know if it's stomach issues or if he's got SIDS or something there, but he always seems to get sick really easy. It wasn't COVID. They're expecting him back for next week, but this is concerning, especially if you need him going forward for the playoffs.
Hey, do you know who my 2 starting quarterbacks are for our dynasty team?
Would that be Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson?
It sure would. You want to know who I started?
Go ahead and tell the Heckling Fandom.
I started Tyler Huntley. And then I was going to start either Joe Flacco or Big Ben. But my work decided that it was going to get real busy. And I never got a chance to take Kyler Murray out.
That's great. So you played an inactive this week. That's just awesome.
Yeah, it's real fun.
You got to hate when work gets in the way of fantasy football, huh?
I got to hate work. That's true.
What are your thoughts on Lamar going forward, though? Is this really concerning, or do you think this is just another anomaly again?
Apparently, they've had some virus that was just tearing through their entire locker room.
And it wasn't the COVID?
And it's not the COVID. They said they tested him 3 times, I guess, this past week. And they can't figure out what it is. Rashad Bateman had it.
Yep.
Earlier in the week. They listed, I think, 4 or 5 other people that were sick with it this week.
Interesting.
I think some of them might have been like staff or whatnot, but
yeah. Okay. And with some Monday night football news, considering we have a game tomorrow too, Saquon Barkley is looking iffy for Monday night, but I do believe he is primed to make his return too. So just keep monitoring that, and hopefully you have his handcuff if that's the case. And for other players on the other side of the ball too, Antonio Brown is out for Monday, so make that change in your lineups if you need to. And Gronk's status is about a coin flip right now, so just things to keep in mind for that game.
Yeah, earlier in the week, you said that Antonio Brown was playing with such
certainty.
You heard somewhere that he was definitely playing, and I'm like, where is he getting this? I scoured, I couldn't find anything.
I saw a conflicting report on that. Actually, I saw 2 reports of it on Roto World, and then I saw reports on it the other way saying, hey, listen, people have been in boots plenty of times and then not practiced and played. So I figured Antonio Brown was going to play this week, and then he was out.
Yeah, I was fully confused.
Yeah, you were fully confused and fully right, and I was fully wrong. Just like an apology. Just like most times this season, it feels like. Just like the bet I had with JJ between our wide receivers having a better week, and his did have a better week between Waddle. Oh, God.
Waddle so and who? Who was the other one?
I don't want to talk about it.
Come on. Who was it?
He's an Eagles rookie wide receiver. He's not worth Smith? He's not worth giving a name.
He didn't have a bad game, though.
He didn't win me this week.
Well, no.
And now I'll be doing an apology letter from JJ.
However,
Tuesday.
You know who did play real well for you?
Who's that? It only took 11 weeks.
It only took 11 weeks. 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 11 weeks Brandon
Elijah Moore.
Aiyuk.
Yeah, finally. And Elijah Moore.
Only took 11 weeks.
I'm glad I stuck with him.
So one thing I did want to discuss, so I have Deebo Samuel, right?
Yep.
Been playing well for me this year. So I was looking at Sleeper while I had a second, just checking my scores and everything, and I saw Deebo Samuel had a touchdown and something like 50-something yards, and at the time. And I'm like, sweet, I wonder how many catches he had. And then I got looking at it, and
he was a running back today.
He was a running back today. He had, I think he only ended up with 2 targets in 1 reception, but ended up with over almost 80 yards rushing and a touchdown. So,
yeah, no, the young wide receivers around this league just had an exceptional week between him, Elijah Moore, Mooney, Jefferson. It was a really good week for young wide receivers. And we're starting to see them come on in the second half of the year, which is really freaking cool to see. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Brandon Aiyuk. All right, man. You ready to get into these game recaps?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into it. I'll actually hit the right button this time, too.
All right, cool.
And by the look of it, it looks like you completely forgot about the screen, too.
Every time. We play it once a week, and I can never remember that it's there.
Well, you found out this time.
It's right in my ears.
All right, man. So let me get this game out of the way because I always got to get the depressing Jets games out of the way really quick. There was some highlights for it, so that's okay. But let's talk about this. Tua had an effective day, 27 for 33, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Gaskins, again, was a workhorse, but he was playing against a horrible rush defense for the Jets. So just gauge him week to week if he's playing in bad defense. 23 carries, 89 yards. He averaged 3.9 yards a carry. So if he's playing a tough defense, he may be someone that's benchable for you. It just kind of depends.
They've got to be a team that's going to be in the running back market this upcoming offseason.
Someone that can trade for him?
Well, that or just someone out of the draft. They've got to bring someone else in.
Or just improve that offensive line a little bit more. Jalen Waddle, as we mentioned too, the irk of my depression tonight, and the reason I'll be reading not poetry but an apology on Tuesday. 8 catches, 65 yards, also had a rushing touchdown. So he obviously had an effective day, and JJ was right on that for the week. Mike Gesicki got involved again too. He's been consistent the last few weeks, 5 catches for 65. And on the other side.
Well, hold on.
Oh, you don't want to skid over that?
Well, you said Gesicki's been consistent for the past few weeks. He did put up a 0 last week.
Yeah, but the last out of 3-4 weeks he's been good.
But I just had to point that out because that's part of the reason I beat Ryan last week. So I just had to throw that out there.
All right. Now we'll move to the other side of the ball too. Now for the Jets, Michael Carter, 9 carries, 63 yards, also got some passing work in. But this is concerning considering it was an ankle injury. We don't know the depth of it, and this could be bad going forward. We'll get some looks going forward too.
Yeah.
The highlight on the other side of that, though, Elijah Moore, 8 catches, 141 yards, a touchdown, and he also got a 15-yard carry too. So absolutely insane game for him, and the second half breakout continues.
My only problem with Elijah Moore is, and this is not taking away from his talent or anything of that nature, we have yet to see this when Zach Wilson was his quarterback.
That's because Zach Wilson's still unsure of himself as a quarterback.
Well, Mike White isn't. Like Mike White and then that other guy, like.
Well, Mike White's a 3-year veteran, so he's got a little bit more experience in these offenses.
He's a veteran playing with veteran is a very loose term in that scenario.
He's still got a few years of experience in NFL offenses.
So it's just something, once Zach Wilson comes back, I want to see how Elijah Moore is at that point.
Yeah.
Is all. I would fully say, I feel like when Zach Wilson comes back, you might want to bench Elijah Mitchell for that week. Elijah Moore, not Mitchell.
I wouldn't, man, because it doesn't seem to matter who's been playing quarterback the last 3 weeks, and he's had 3 different quarterbacks. He's played good. So I honestly think he's elevating the quarterback around him too. And should Flacco play again this weekend, another player you can look at next week is Crowder, who also had 44 yards and a touchdown. I wouldn't consider him until a Sunday ad for potentially wide receiver 3, though, if you're going to be doing that, because I don't think you'll know who's going to be playing quarterback for the Jets until Sunday. I think they're going to try to keep that up in the air. Flacco had a decent game, and the offense looked to produce under him, which just irks me in all the wrong ways because I want to say the rookie developed. But Flacco is better for this offense currently for fantasy football.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Any closing thoughts on that before I move on to the next game?
Jets defense still look like trash?
Oh, yeah, it still looks like trash. It played against an inept Miami offense, which made it look all right. But guess what? You're going to be getting much harder opponents going forward, except for this week when they play the Texans. So look for it to return back to form, which is absolutely horrible.
The Texans just beat the Titans, man.
Yeah, but the Titans like to lose to horrible teams like the Jets and Texans. So, there's a pattern there, which is bringing your game down to the team.
Did we bring that injury up in the news, A.J. Brown's?
No, go ahead and mention that.
All I know is I want to say it was either a shoulder or a rib injury, and he left the game. So that's another one to monitor.
Kind of concerning. All right, so let's move on to the next game, too. So Ravens-Bears, JJ's suppression increases even further. Matt Nagy still has a job. Let's talk about the Ravens side of the ball first here. Freeman, 16 carries on 1 touchdown. I think he's still a solid play until Murray gets back, so keep monitoring that week to week.
Oh, Murray wasn't back this week?
No, he didn't play this week.
Oh, I thought he played. All right,
he didn't. Cool. He did not play this week. Also, Huntley started for an injured Lamar Jackson, which by that we really mean he probably had the poops again. So he was consistent and played well with Mark Andrews. 8 receptions, 73 yards. Won them the game too. So he did what a backup quarterback did, which is typically go to the safety net, which is the tight end position. Watkins did shit. He had 1 or 2 decent catches.
Yeah, it's Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, I'm not.
How did Rashad Bateman do?
Rashad Bateman also had a disappointing day, 3 for 29, which is concerning considering Hollywood Brown also didn't play in this game.
Yeah.
On the other side of the ball, though, Darnell Mooney, very, very good week. 5 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. He's starting to look like the Bears' number 1 wide receiver, and I don't really think there's any doubt to that.
Yeah, I don't think Allen Robinson stays around this offseason.
No, man, he didn't even have a catch in this game. I don't even know if he was active, to be honest.
He wasn't. I think he was out.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not staying around, and they're going to look to unload him this offseason. And I believe he's a free agent. They tagged him this year, so he's definitely not coming back. Also, Marquise Goodwin, 4 receptions, 104 yards, and a touchdown. You get a weird oddity once in a while, and if you had the good graces, go ahead.
And that's kind of weird to me because both Mooney and Goodwin are both like deep threat, like stretch the field type players. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's not like one of them's the possession guy. Neither one of them is not really their archetype. Like, so it's just weird that they both had good games like that.
Yep. And Montgomery got 14 carries again. He's back to workload status. He's the guy, and unfortunately, Khalil Herbert goes back to the bench, which is disappointing because I think he's a very talented running back.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. And now let's move on to the Thursday night game and just skate over this really quick because, you still got to cover it. We had one. So Patriots and Falcons, Mac Jones, 207 yards a TD, not highly efficient for fantasy football. Only 13 points for Dynasty, which kind of sucked for me. Harrison Stevenson also split carries. I believe Stevenson went for 69 yards, also got some receiving work. Harris went for 56. But interestingly enough in this offense, Kendrick Bourne seems to be getting more involved in this offense and getting a bigger piece of it. Didn't have a very big game this week, but last game before that he did. So do you think anything of Kendrick Bourne going forward?
It's definitely worth a monitor, but this team wants to play defense and run the football. So it's one of those teams where it's hard to know which wide receiver to start because only one of them can really have a decent game.
Correct. And then Hunter Henry unfortunately missed the end zone for the first time in many weeks too.
I think 7.
I believe he was targeted in the red zone this game though too, just didn't get there. So look for him to get there again next week. So I don't believe you have any concerns with him, and he is a top 12 startable tight end, I believe, up to this point.
Yeah, he's definitely got high touchdown upside. And like you said, even he didn't get one, but he was definitely targeted. Like they want him to get the ball in the red zone. So,
yep. And on the other side of the ball, do we really even got to talk about the Falcons offense going forward?
I have actually really good analytics or analysis of the Falcons game.
I hope it's only about Kyle Pitts because he's the only one really worth starting going forward, and obviously Cordell Patterson when he's healthy. But go ahead.
This is my analysis. You ready?
Go ahead.
Good analysis, right?
Yes. That's really all you need to hear. They just need to, they'll be really good if they just draft a whole new offense.
Right. They'll be
that's
really
all they
good
got to
if
do.
They just get a new team. It's fine.
Yeah. All you got to do.
If they just become the Indianapolis Colts, they'll be really good.
Oh my Lord! All right, you want to just skate over this now and go right to the Packers and Vikings.
Kyle Pitts and Cordell Patterson are the only potential starts on that team. Definitely,
just stay away from the rest of them.
I don't know what dummy would start Wayne Gallman in their league.
Oh no, we're not skating over that. Why don't you tell us how that happened? Because we were absolutely roasting you in our chat going forward to that. So what happened with that, Ron?
Well, first, I wanted your guys' advice, and you wouldn't give it to me.
Wonder why that was. It's not because you're competing for a playoff spot or anything.
No, not at all. But I was deciding between him and now I don't even remember who the other person was. Because I'm I don't think that person did anything either, but
wasn't it Jacksonville's wide receiver?
No, it was Agnew, Jamal Agnew.
Yeah, it's Jacksonville's wide receiver.
Oh, yeah, he is Jacksonville. Yeah.
I know he plays running back for them too, but yes, he's technically a wide receiver.
He only finished with 5 points, but that is way better than Gallman's
negative 0.80.
Negative 0.3. Calm down. But on another note, I'm probably still going to win that league even with that.
Yeah, bullshit. You'll win this week, not the league.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Oh, I might win the league,
You're not winning. I'm winning the league. It's all right. I'm winning the league.
You're not even winning this week.
Oh, stop. Please. I've got 3 of my starters hurt, and they're coming back next week. Just chill out.
I'm just going to say, if you lose this week and I win this week, then you go from 3 to 4 overall in the league, and I go from 4 to 3. Just saying.
And what does that really amount to? Neither of us get a bye week, so that really amounts to nothing.
That amounts to me being ahead of you.
Which ultimately will mean nothing when you get kicked out of the playoffs early.
Bragging rights.
Jesus. Just calm down over there, killer. It's got a long way to go.
I know.
All right, let's go to the Packers and Bears. All right, so Rodgers had a very, very good game. 23 of 33, 385 yards, 4 touchdowns. But where there was an absolute insane side to this game with the Vikings winning.
Yeah, especially since you said it was the Packers and Bears.
Packers, Vikings, my apologies. Yeah, you were a little bit confused there. I tend to be doing that a lot lately. Yeah, so Packers, Vikings. So I'm just making games up this week. I don't even care what it is.
It was a 3-way game, and the Vikings won it, man. It was great.
Incredible. Lions don't even count. So, yeah, Valdez-Scantling, 4 receptions, 123 yards, and a touchdown.
They didn't get invited to the massive game.
A big Royal Rumble.
Are we going to invite the Lions? No, they suck. We don't want them here.
What's your thoughts on Scantling's 4 reception, 123-yard game and a touchdown?
He's unreliable. I know he had a big game, but he's unreliable. Who knows? He'll do this week and then won't do it again until the NFC Championship game or something.
You know who's more reliable?
Who?
Devontae Adams, 2 touchdowns.
He sure is.
He is just absolutely insane.
He's a monster.
Year in, year out, absolutely reliable. Another beast. Now that another running back, Aaron Jones, who I said was going to be better than Jonathan Taylor this year. Boy, was that a bad take. A.J. Dillon, 6 receptions on 44 yards and 11 carries on 53 yards. He's important in both aspects of the game. He's a nice balanced running back. And honestly, I think he's more talented than Aaron Jones going forward. And you're going to see a nice even split if he comes back. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, you were already kind of seeing a split. I don't know if it was an even split.
I think you'll see that even split now.
But you might. I mean, I don't know. You might see them leave Aaron Jones out a little bit longer if he's not 100%. You know what I mean? To let him get fully healthy.
All right, and then on the other side of the ball too. Now, Dalvin Cook, very good game. 22 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. But the man of the day and the MVP of this game, Justin Jefferson, man, 8 receptions, 169 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What's your thoughts on Justin Jefferson going forward?
I just hope that someone somewhere had the frame of mind to go trade for this man before last week's game, because he could have probably potentially helped you win for 2 weeks in a row.
I mean, could have, but he was already on my dynasty roster, so I didn't need that.
Yeah, well, I traded for him in winner.
Yeah, well, I don't want to hear it. All right, and, the old man of that wide receiving core, too, Thielen, also was productive. 82, I believe it was 8 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. So the man just, keeps producing. Nice wide receiver, too, for you. You just throw the old man in there, bring him to bingo night, and he's ready to go.
Bring him to bingo night. I like it.
That's all you really need to do. All right, and now with that very high-scoring performance for fantasy football, let's talk about another very high-scoring player. Jonathan Taylor, the man of the day, 5 touchdowns off 32 carries, 185 yards. Oh, and did we mention he also caught a few passes and got a touchdown there too? Jeez. Man's doing it all.
Dude is just insane. He's the new Derrick Henry.
He feels like it.
I really feel like he's going to be the new Derrick Henry.
Are there any discussions for him to be league MVP this year if the Colts make the playoffs?
Yes. He's definitely in consideration. I don't know if he'll get it just because running backs don't get it very easily. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't broken any league records. And generally you have to do that as a running back to get MVP. So
yeah. And for the simple fact that he absolutely owned this game too, Carson Wentz had a terrible game, barely over 100 yards too. And the side effect of that was Pittman and Hilton did absolutely nothing. So the only one you could start this week that was effective was Taylor. And Wentz is starting to scare me because they are just looking to get the running game going. He has had 2 very bad weeks in a row. And I have brought him to the bench in our Dynasty League. I haven't even played him the last 2 weeks. So what's your thoughts on Carson Wentz going forward? Is he even viable in 2 quarterback formats?
You're going to have to look at matchups. If it's a matchup where they're looking to be behind and having to throw the ball a lot, I still think he's perfectly fine to play, especially in 2 QB matchups.
Yeah.
But if it's something that they're going to be, easily winning, then it's going to be a Jonathan Taylor game.
Easily winning. It doesn't seem to come very easily for anyone in the AFC this year.
It came easy for them today.
Not for the Titans today.
Well, not for the Titans, no.
Yeah, all right. We'll get to that game, though. I promise
But they had to play Houston. I mean, come on. Give them a break.
All right. The other part of this game, though, the Bills. Josh Allen had a pedestrian day by his standards, 21 of 35, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And this backfield is an absolute concern. It was a committee with none of these running backs getting more than 5 carries. And the leading rushing carrier in this backfield today was Matt Breida.
Oh,
yeah.
That's never fun to hear.
Yeah, so Singletary going forward, not playable. Matt Breida is definitely not playable, and Moss not playable. Just do what you can to avoid that backfield. Try not to play them. It's just an absolute minefield. Dawson Knox was pretty good today, though. 6 receptions on 80 yards, so he seems to be returning to form coming back from that injury.
And that's good because that'll help Josh Allen a bunch.
Yeah, and that wide receiving core will have better days. They played a pretty tough defense today, and the formula for the Colts today was run the ball, play good defense, and they were a very physical team that have made a lot of teams look very bad this year.
Indeed.
All right, speaking of bad teams, let's talk about the Lions here. So next game we're going to talk about is the Lions and Browns. Lions offense looked horrible running through quarterback. Boyle's offense, he was 15 of 23 for 77 yards. Again, very inept offense. No thoughts on that, Ron?
I'm sorry. I just noticed that the Arizona Cardinals beat the Seattle Seahawks.
That's correct.
Without Kyler Murray.
That's correct. They beat him with Colt McCoy. We'll get to that game. I'll let you give the synopsis of that when we get down to it.
Okay, who are we talking to right now?
We're talking about the Lions and Browns. We'll skate over this quick.
Lions and Browns. I don't know, man. The Browns, I wouldn't have been shocked if the Lions won this game. I'm not going to lie.
So the Browns' offense runs through Nick Chubb currently. 22 carries and 130 yards. There's absolutely no doubt he's what makes the offense go.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, if you even want to talk about this wide receiving core, there's no one you could really even start for the Browns. Tight end Austin Hooper led them in receptions. That was 4 receptions for 53 yards. Hooper is a sneaky tight end too going forward, though, too. He seems to be pretty involved and runs a lot of routes, though. But as to these wide receivers in this offense, it just doesn't look good. Baker Mayfield just looks hurt out there and just doesn't look effective.
He is hurt. He's got like a laundry list of freaking different ailments. It was like his heel, his toe, his shoulder.
Yeah, he's the Big Ben this year. He just is all banged up. He can't stay healthy.
It was just a list, and I'm like, how is he playing? Like,
he's just a walking mummy right now.
Walking mummy. I like it.
And just like Nick Chubb being the complete offense for the Browns, DeAndre Swift is the whole offense for the Lions too. 14 carries, 136 yards, and a touchdown. Hawkinson also got some work too, so very similar game plan for the Lions going into this game. 6 receptions for 51 yards. Tight end playable. It was a mirror image on both sides of this game.
I'm glad he didn't do that last week.
Yeah.
I would have lost.
You were close.
It was close.
All right.
I needed Debo to be a man, and he was.
Yeah, Debo was definitely a man. Debo's been a man the last 2 weeks. So, all right. So Washington and Panthers now. Taylor Heineke, again effective, 16-22 and 3 touchdowns. So let me just ask this to you. Is he a top 15 quarterback by the end of the year? He tends to be hover between 15 to 17 in range right now.
He could make it into there. He's got some rushing upside, but I would be more likely closer to the 20 range.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of him. I've been playing him in Dynasty because I, kind of punted to later years, hoping to have a better team. But he's really been keeping me in things. I really don't mind playing him week to week, especially in 2 QB format, especially in Dynasty leagues. Also, Gibson, he's coming right back to life, 19 carries on 95 yards. What's your thoughts on Gibson going forward?
Well, here's my thoughts on the entire Washington offense. All right.
Mm-hmm.
They just came off their bye week. What was it? 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
They came out of their bye week and they beat Tampa Bay. Now they beat Carolina. Now, obviously, Carolina is not, a great team, but they're getting back to looking more like what we saw last year when they were making the push at the end of the year and battled the Buccaneers in the playoffs and almost beat them then. So watch out. This team could be sneaky.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin had a good day too. 5 receptions on 103 yards, 1 TD.
I think they had that bye week. I think everybody got healthy. McLaurin was injured before that. Gibson was injured before that. Mm-hmm. I think these guys came back healthy and ready to party.
Yeah, you were talking about Washington making a push. I think Philly might make a push too. They looked very good the last 2 weeks. They seem to be figuring out that offense finally. Only took them 11 weeks, but
I will say that over the past couple of weeks, Jalen Hurts has looked like a better passer.
Mm-hmm.
He's making better reads, more precise with his throws. And of course, he's always running for his 50 yards at least.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to that game too. Speaking of other rushing quarterbacks in this game too, like we mentioned earlier, Cam Newton seems to be back, 21 of 27, 189 yards, 2 TDs. And the man, of course, has to rush for 46 yards and a touchdown. He looked like the Cam Newton of old coming back to the Panthers.
That's a Cam Newton stat line right there.
Yep.
And you could get something similar to that near every week.
It's nice to see him back. It's just he didn't look right last year and before he got cut from New England.
Yeah.
Also, this offense is obviously going to run through Christian McCaffrey. Had an absolute pedestrian day, 10 carries on 59, 7 receptions, and 60 yards and a touchdown. My God, how dare he barely have over 100 yards of total offense.
Yeah, he didn't break 100 yards receiving or rushing.
No.
Scrub. You should trade him to me.
Also, DJ Moore returned to wide receiver 1 form, which was more of a wide receiver 2 in most formats, 5 receptions on 50 yards and a touchdown. But Cam Newton likes to throw to him too, but Christian McCaffrey needs, 20 receptions in a game. So
Right.
DJ Moore will have his games, but, nice to see him return to form.
DJ Moore is going to need a touchdown.
Yeah.
In the games to be really what you want out of him.
He very well could be, though. He's a very talented wide receiver.
5 for 50 is still 10 points in PPR, which I would take as like a wide receiver 3.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're counting on him to be anything higher than that, I think you definitely are hoping for a touchdown.
We shall see going forward. Now, let's talk about the what the fuck game of the day. Texans and Titans. What happened to the Titans today?
I don't know. It wasn't Brandon Cooks. I can tell you that.
well, let me try to give you a lowdown on what happened in this game, because the Texans had not a single fantasy relevant player. Rex Burkhead led them in rushing carries with 18. Tyrod threw for 107 yards, and the only thing he did was rush for 2 touchdowns. So I don't have an answer for you as to why the Texans won this game. Is it maybe because Ryan Tannehill decided he was going to chuck it around the yard today for 35 of 52, throwing 4 interceptions? Is it just the Titans lost this game?
It might be the fact that, A.J. Brown got injured.
Mm-hmm.
No Derrick Henry. It's finally starting to show. I mean, or like you said earlier, like they just lose to bad teams. This
may be the worst 7-3 team of all time. It's a very unbalanced team from week to week. You don't know what you're going to get. Whether they're going to dominate someone like the Bills or lose to the Texans or Jets. It's a very strange team.
I feel like, we made a lot of, the point of they beat the Bills and then they beat the Chiefs and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs haven't been playing well all year.
They're starting to hit their stride a little bit more. It's not very fancy looking, but they're winning.
But up to that point, they weren't playing good. They almost lost to the Giants. I mean,
right.
Come on. So, and then the Bills, since that game, haven't looked very good either. So it might be they just hit these teams when they started playing bad.
Can we just say there's no dominant team in the AFC this year? Because there isn't. I don't know who's going to get to the Super Bowl from the AFC.
Right now, I think the best team in the AFC, it might be the Colts.
And they, until today, were out of the playoffs. So what's that tell you? No dominant teams.
How are they out of the playoffs? Who's number 1 in that division?
The Titans.
Oh, yeah, they're in that division.
Yeah, and the Colts, I believe the Colts just got to, are they 6-5 now? So they literally just pulled into a playoff spot after the win against the Bills today. They're right on the cusp still, but they look like they're starting to roll.
But here's the thing: what's the teams that always do good in the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl?
Ones that play defense and have a good running game,
and that's the Colts.
Yeah,
they probably got the best running back in the NFL right now,
and
their and their defense is solid. So, and Carson Wentz has the ability to not lose you a game. You know what I mean?
When he's only throwing for 107 yards.
Right, exactly. But he's not throwing interceptions. He's not turning the ball over.
Well, it's real easy to hand it to Jonathan Taylor. So.
It's a real easy win game if you just hand it to one guy and he just scores every time.
Yeah, and to wrap up the Titans on this game too, this backfield just is an absolute mess. We were thinking that one of these guys was separating themselves, but listen, Adrian Peterson led the committee in rushing yards going forward. I have no interest in this backfield. It's just like the Bills backfield. I have no interest going forward.
Great comparison.
I don't want anyone from this running back committee until Derrick Henry comes back the playoff championship week, which is probably going to happen.
That is a great comparison. I'm not going to lie. Their backfield, the Bills. And Shark Tank, I'm out.
Yeah. Also, Marcus Johnson was a big disappointment this week after his 100-yard game last week. He fumbled the ball, and we saw nothing of him after that. Westbrook led them with 7 receptions, 107 yards. So I'm calling this an oddity with wide receivers in this core too. And I will not be playing Marcus Johnson next week. And even though Westbrook had 107 yards, I will not be playing him either. I am avoiding this offense altogether now.
You can obviously see that it's going to be more game dependent on which one of those two. Obviously, if you have AJ Brown and he's healthy, you play him. But outside of that, I think it's a full fade.
Yeah, I honestly believe you're right about that. Now, let's talk about an offense that seems to be hitting its stride a lot more. The 49ers offense, which was fun to watch all around, man. So Jimmy G, pretty effective today, 16-22, only 176 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. And this offense was clicking on all strides. Jeff Wilson led them with 19 carries and 50 yards, with Elijah Mitchell out with an injured finger. Trey Sermon even got 10 carries today. He got a little bit of passing work too, so they seem to be getting him involved. But let's talk about the big boys, the wide receivers in this offense today. Debo, 8 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. The man can do it all.
And you've seen it start last week. I don't think he had this many rushing attempts like in games before last week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I think they might be starting to work him more in it. I think they just know when he gets the ball, he's explosive.
Yeah, speaking of explosive, when you're playing him at running back, you need someone to play wide receiver too. Brandon Aiyuk, 7 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. He's finally back. I think he's had 2 good weeks in a row, and he's finally integrated into this offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think he may be back. And one thing that really does concern me, and I don't know if this was the game plan just because Elijah Mitchell was out, but the fact that Debo only got 2 targets this entire game is a little concerning to me.
Yeah.
Because then you're just hoping they line him up at running back. Or if it was just, okay, we're going to line you up at running back because Elijah Mitchell's out, and then next week he'll be right back to doing what he was doing before.
I don't think you have any concern with him anyway. They're going to get the ball to the playmakers in this offense, and their best playmaker currently is Deebo Samuel. Speaking of someone else that is supposed to be a playmaker for them, George Kittle, 4 receptions, had a touchdown, though. It was his saving grace today. So that's just something to consider going forward. He's still playable, but he's not really that top 3 guy that we've been expecting all season.
Well, luckily with this team, it's not like it has been in the past. Their defense, which is okay, but it's not like dominant like it has been in years past. And same with their run game. It's okay, but even with Elijah Mitchell, it hasn't been dominant.
No, there's games where all these guys have eaten now. It's a nice offense.
Yeah.
It would just be nice to see if they got the dynamic of a running quarterback in there, maybe a rookie.
I don't want them to do that because I don't know what that would do to Deebo Samuel. And I'm counting on him.
I don't know. Aiyuk's playing well with him too. I may have to just let that one back into the free agency pool.
The way they're playing right now, they're not making that switch.
No, they're winning games. They're right on the cusp of the playoffs right now, so they're not going to be either.
In the games they haven't won, they've been competitive. So they're not making that switch.
Speaking of teams not on the cusp of the playoffs too, the Jacksonville Jaguars looked pretty bad. James Robinson got 12 carries, looked ineffective though, got a touchdown. That's just because they got a pretty good defense on the other side. There will be much better weeks for James Robinson going forward. It's just they were playing a very physical team.
Not to mention he was injured still.
Yeah, he's still banged up a little bit. This wide receiving core this week was absolutely unplayable this week. Marvin Jones looked iffy, and he's iffy every 2 weeks. So I just wouldn't play anyone in this wide receiving core. It's disappointing because we saw a little bit of progress from Agnew last week, and that kind of excited me going forward with him. So I might sit him on my bench for another week to see if something happens there. But besides that, none of those wide receivers really excite me. Dan Arnold didn't even get a catch this week.
I don't think he even got a target this week.
No, he didn't.
So my thing with like Agnew, and you said like sit him on your bench and wait. I feel like it might be one of those situations where you have him on your team, but you always choose wrong. Like you play him and he does nothing. You don't play him and he goes off. He's one of those players. I think it'll be like that, and I'm gonna kick him off my team as soon as possible.
He might be the one that you're considering waiving at the end of the week, but he's also a good emergency wide receiver, I think, if you need him. So, end of the bench spot. If you need another position, he's worth cutting. All right, so now let's move on to the Saints and Eagles. And Ron, did you say that there was an actual good quarterback in this game that played for the Eagles? Someone that can actually pass?
I said he was getting better, and I'll stick to that. I mean, it only took him, 10, 11 weeks, but.
All right, give us a glowing rendition of Jalen Hurts today then. What happened with him?
I didn't get to see a lot, but what I saw was good, and I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns.
He did.
Yeah. You love that for fantasy, man.
Yeah, no, he looked pretty good today.
What's his ranking right now?
Don't have it currently offhand. Why don't you look that up for me? I talk about the rest of that offense for the Eagles too. So Miles Sanders is also back at 16 carries for 94 yards. I was kind of expecting that this week, so I was trying to trade for him all week for my buddy Sylvester Smith. I sent him like 6 offers for Miles Sanders. He must have known he was coming back this week too because he turned down every single one of those offers. And go there. 5 receptions for 62 yards. He looked pretty good. Devontae Smith came back down to earth after his last hot 2 weeks, too. 4 receptions for 61 yards. But I believe all 3 of these are pretty good plays going forward. And obviously, Hurts is just a good player for fantasy football.
Right now, according to our sleeper app for our league, it says he is currently the number 4 quarterback, Jalen Hurts is.
That is impressive, considering where we had him ranked. Because I kicked him out of our top 10 right at the end before the season started. So
I think we both had him at like 11 or 12, though, right?
Yeah, but 4 is quite a jump between 10 and 11.
Yeah.
And on the other side of this game, too, for the Saints, Simeon looked pretty good again. 22 of 40, so not very good passing effectiveness, but he had 3 touchdowns again. And listen here, Mark Ingram is an excellent handcuff for while Alvin Kamara is out. He's a necessity to have while you have him out of the games. And even Troutman got in the end zone, which the Fantasy Footballers podcast was predicting this week. So Troutman is someone you kind of have to look at the matchups with every single week.
Mike Wright was touting Troutman all off season.
Yeah.
And he was real happy that he thought he would actually have a good game this week. And he was right, man. You got to give him props.
Yeah, got into the end zone finally.
That's why he gets paid to do this, and we're just some schlubs that just do this and sit here talking to ourselves.
Yeah, we just sit here and talk to ourselves because we work full-time jobs and can't do that. All right, so you have any other thoughts on this game?
No, not that I could think of.
All right, so let's move on to the later games now. The Bengals and Raiders. So listen here. Joe Mixon got a hell of a lot of work in this game. So what's your thoughts about Mixon? He had a multi-touchdown game. It was a lot of work. Is he going to be a top 5 running back going forward?
Mixon is already RB9.
Yep.
I believe he's missed 1 game. No, he hasn't missed a single game yet, but there was one he came back and he was injured.
Yep.
I think they just had their bye week. It's getting late in the year. He's a good running back, and I think they're going to use him a lot to try to make that playoff push.
Yeah, the wide receiving core for the Bengals, too, had a pedestrian game, but this is just synonymous with Mixon doing what Jonathan Taylor did in his game, which was absolutely dominating the game. Jamar Chase only had 3 receptions for 32 yards, and Boyd actually led them in targets, 6 for 49. So this is just a symptom of Joe Mixon taking over the game. So I wouldn't worry about Jamar Chase going forward. He's still going to have his powerful weeks.
Yeah, I just if it's a neutral or a positive game strip where they're winning, I expect Joe Mixon to get heavy workload. You getting into the colder months, people like to run the ball.
Yeah, speaking of running the ball, on the other side of this too, why do the Raiders run a running back by committee where Jacobs is only getting 9 carries for 37 yards? He still averaged 4.1 yards a carry, which is highly effective. He's good in the passing game, yet they have this infatuation with Kenyon Drake, who got 5 carries. Why are they doing this to him?
I don't know why they don't use Josh Jacobs more, and I was really hoping after John Gruden left that it would change.
It didn't.
It didn't. And I know a lot of people were higher on him in the draft process. And I said right from the get-go, it's not that I don't trust him as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust the Raiders as an organization to use him properly.
No, the only player they seem to use effectively is Darren Waller, who had 7 receptions and 116 yards today.
This is for you.
Oh, God, here we go. Edward Davis has a comment. It's the first one of the night. So thank you for joining us tonight, Edward. Joe, remember when I brought up my concerns that Josh Allen would get shut down by Indy? and I was thinking about starting Cam Newton instead. Looks like I should have went with my gut. Yeah, no shit, you should have went with your gut. Not always the best to listen to us. So, Edward, just remember that when you're getting advice from us, it's always a loaded gun.
I will just say, Edward, that one of us on the show picked Indy to win this game.
Yeah, the one that didn't show up on the show at all this week. That's who picked him.
I was on IR.
So guess what, Edward? He let you down because he couldn't show up to do his own job on this. So
Edward,
this is Ron's fault.
Edward, if you look right there, it says Ron Seymour /Twitter @ HSSI Fantasy. If you want good advice, go ahead and hit me up.
Yeah, don't worry. He won't answer you back because he can't even show up for the show either. Hunter Renfrow going forward, too, I think will still be effective. I understand he only had 4 receptions for 30 yards, but he's going to have good weeks, too. So I don't have any concerns about Hunter Renfrow going forward. I think he's a staple of this offense.
Yeah, me too.
All right, and with that, would you like to move on to the Cardinals and Seahawks?
Let's do it.
Ooh, this sounds fun. So Colt McCoy, very effective day again. What's your thoughts on Colt McCoy going forward?
I think, don't they have a bye week next week?
Yes, they do.
And then I think Kyler will be back. So,
are you saying he's not going to be playable after this week?
I don't think so. No.
So yeah, he went 35.
And also, last week he had a bad week. So he's a very good backup quarterback.
Yeah,
and the Cardinals are lucky to have him.
He's been in the league for quite a while. He was 35 of 44, 328 yards and 2 TDs. Connor got involved in this game again, too. He had 21 carries on 62 and a touchdown, and I believe he got some work in the passing game, too. 5 for 37, so he is effective while that offense runs through him. Ertz looked very good in this game, too. 88 yards on 8 receptions, 2 TDs, so that trade has worked out in their favor. And what is Ertz's outlook going forward, Ron?
I think he's a very good play. I mean, once Kyler comes back, he's going to be probably even more involved. This passing attack will look more consistent.
Okay. And AJ Green got work, 4 receptions on 78 yards. So let the wide receiver committee continue, because even Rondale Moore got 11 receptions in this game and 51 yards. So what's your thought on Rondale Moore? Is there a potential second half breakout for him coming, or is this just synonymous with Hopkins being out?
That and just the fact that it was a Rondale Moore week.
Yeah, I believe it's a Rondale Moore week. Yeah. And on the other side of the ball, too, the Seahawks just look wrong right now, man. Russell Wilson just doesn't look healthy. 14 of 26, 207 yards. This running back by committee just is not working. Alex Collins got 10 carries on 36 yards. Dallas got the touchdown, and Penny only got 2 carries. But do you think Penny is going to get the majority of this work going forward and is worth a stash?
You definitely got to have him on a roster, I think. It could be him. Who knows? And it could end up being a Bills / the other team we said their thing where you can't trust any of them.
Yeah.
But I think you need
the Seahawks have looked broken. They're not making the playoffs. They may – I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 weeks they end up shutting him down for the year. I really could see that happening.
Who? Russ?
Yes.
Russ won't shut down for the year.
They may make him shut down.
Russell is not one of those people you make. I think even if they said you're not playing this week, he would show up in his uniform and go onto the field and push whoever the quarterback is out of the way and say, I'm playing this game.
I don't know, man. He just doesn't look right. And if he was smart, I think that's what he would look to do too. So let's move on to our next game, in the last one. The game of the week, which ended up being a defensive struggle and not the high offensive proliferation of a game that we thought it was going to be, the Cowboys and Chiefs. So what do we got to say about this besides all of the Cowboys' offensive weapons got hurt? Zeke got hurt, but he came back into the game. CeeDee Lamb got hurt, which is more concerning because we have him in our Megalo Bowl league, and he had a lot of trouble returning to this game. So are these injuries a concern for this Cowboys offense going forward, or do you think this is just a bump in the road?
No, the fact that they already had Amari Cooper out, if and they play Thursday, like we said. So there's a chance they might have to play this game without Amari Cooper, without CeeDee Lamb, and without Ezekiel Elliott.
Are you saying Michael Gallup's a good play for Thursday?
He could be. Who are they playing?
I don't know. I don't know. They're playing for the Thanksgiving game. I haven't even gotten that far ahead yet.
But that is definitely something to be worried about if they're missing their 3 top playmakers on offense.
Yeah, if they're missing them, I mean, Dalton Schultz and Gallup could be a big part of this offense, considering
Cedric
the
Wilson
opponent.
Also.
Yeah, so why don't you look up the opponent while I talk about these two in this game too? So with them being hurt, I mean, Schultz got 6 receptions for 53 yards. So obviously Schultz has been affected all season from the tight end position, and he looks good too. And Gallup looks healthy. So this is something to consider, I think, for the Thursday game. And it's going to be a quick turnaround for you. You're going to have to consider it quick. And Gallup may be someone that's still on waivers for you. He's not on a ton of rosters, I don't believe. 5 receptions for 44 yards. So consider it. Cedric Wilson's also out there, so someone else to consider. So evaluate these guys quickly and determine if they're going to play Thursday, because this could be concerning. I think Elliott is more likely to play. I understand he came back into the game, but things do swell up. So it could just be a game where they look to pound the rock with Pollard a lot.
They play the Raiders.
Yeah, they got dominated by the Bengals today on the ground. So, I mean, Pollard may be in for a good game Thursday. Giving you early game evaluations for Thanksgiving here, but maybe a very good yeah, absolutely, right? So just consider that going forward, too. Prescott, bad game. Like we said, this was a defensive struggle, 28 for 43, 216, and 2 interceptions. He'll have much better games going forward. I wouldn't be too concerned about Dak Prescott going forward. What's your thoughts on him?
No, I agree. Probably won't be too concerned about him, especially once he gets all his weapons back.
Now, on the other side, on the adverse, are we concerned about Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he's been a good fantasy quarterback this year, but it's been weird. He 23 of 37 today, 216 and an interception. So what do we think about him? It's a weird year for him.
It doesn't matter what we think. You got to start him.
Yeah, there's no one I wouldn't bench him for, even if I saw what Cam Newton did today. It's not considerable.
You took him in the top 3 rounds. He's a quarterback. Either try trading him away for really good pieces or you're starting him.
He's your ride or die, I think.
Yeah.
Also, something I took out of this game, too, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to instantly take back the focal spot position on this job. 12 carries on his week back, 63 yards and a touchdown. And he's going to get the passing work, too. He's completely removed Darrell Williams from this offense.
Well, as he should. He was a first-round pick.
That's correct. Tyreek Hill did have a decent day, even with the weird offensive day by the Chiefs. He got some passing work in too. Passing and rushing work. So one rushing play for 33 yards and 9 receptions on 77 yards. So what's your thoughts on Tyreek Hill going forward?
You got to play him.
Just like Travis Kelce, 5 for 74?
Yep.
All right, so Edward Davis has another comment on Mahomes going forward. He says, Mahomes is off and on. He is the Mike Evans of quarterbacks currently this year. I completely agree with that. It's impossible to bench him. Just expect some duds and some great games. And going into the playoffs, you better hope it's the great games or you're done.
Yep.
There is some quarterbacks I would much rather have, but you're not benching him.
60 points last week and then finished with 10 this week.
Just absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Ron, do you have any thoughts on the Pittsburgh and Chargers game going on tonight?
The Chargers should win this game handedly, which means it'll be a really close game.
All right, and you've been off for a week. So, Ron, where can you find this show?
I don't know. I've been off for a week. No, you can find it right if you're watching this right here on YouTube at Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Go to our website, www.garbagetimeff.com. Make sure you leave us a voicemail or a hate mail. Go ahead and you can see over there where we are available. Instagram at Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Twitter at garbage_timeff. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes Radio, TuneIn Radio. Yeah. iHeartRadio. Didn't I say iHeartRadio?
No.
Did I say iTunes Radio again?
You did.
God damn it.
Great way to end the show, and it's perfect for Garbage Time Fantasy Football. And also, Ryan also does Garbage Time Presents the MMA podcast. They didn't have a episode this week. They took a week off, but there were some big cards coming up too, so listen out for that. And they also have their Instagram page too, Garbage Time MMA. So with that, Ron, are you ready to get out of here?
Hell yeah.
All right, boys. And we will see you guys tomorrow with a waiver show because guess what? Thanksgiving games are coming right up. We have holidays too. So waiver show comes tomorrow because you're going to need them freaking early for the Thanksgiving games. So come back, see us here, and enjoy the waiver show tomorrow. And good night, guys. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
You're the one that hit the end button this time, huh?
No, I didn't. Oh, we're still going.
How do you like that, guys? Extra minute.
Extra
Boom.
minute.